Everybody hear me? All right, got this thing working. Good afternoon. I'm Major Oscar Rodriguez, the United States Marine. It is my great pleasure to be speaking to you this afternoon to honor our veterans who have given so much to our country. I would like to thank all the special guests here today, especially Mr. Steve Stevenson for inviting me to speak. State Senator Donna Campbell, thank you for attending them. Thank you all for being here and thank you for having me. Today is a great day in our country. In all corners of this great land, in large cities and in small, Americans have assembled for a special cause. That cause is to honor and remember our veterans and to pay homage to the great sacrifices they have made so that we may enjoy the freedoms that we possess. Generations of men and boys before us have answered the call of our nation and defended the freedoms we hold so dear, whether it has been against fascist oppression, communist aggression, or Islamic terror. Our veterans have volunteered to go into harm's way, far from their families and loved ones, and risk everything to defend our way of life. To those men and women who have served, and to those veterans who are here today, on behalf of me and my family, I would like to personally thank you for all you have done for us. Thank you for providing the rights and freedoms that allow us to assemble here today. Thank you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Our veterans are the living personification of such a saying. There are many of us in this room who bear the unseen scars of battle, and others who bear the physical wounds that actions against our enemy can cause. They have suffered the insufferable and borne the unbearable. They have overcome obstacles that most men would never imagine having to overcome. After the Battle of Iwo Jima, Admiral Chester Nimitz, who happens to be from up the road in Fredericksburg, said uncommon valor was a common virtue. Our veterans are truly great human beings and the very best our nation has to offer. I'm a veteran of combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2003, as a young first lieutenant, I led a combined anti-armor team in the invasion of Iraq. I remained in country for 6 months after major combat ended. I returned 6 months later as a company executive officer fighting in the job. At the conclusion of my second combat tour and my third deployment in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, it was time to be reassigned. Marines are tasked with two things that we can never fail at: winning battles and making Marines. I had won battles, and now it was time for me to return to the United States to make Marines. I was assigned to duty at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, California, tasked with the great responsibility of molding and transforming young men into Marines. The year was 2005, and the war in Iraq was in full swing. It was a time all our sister services were having problems recruiting enough young men to fill their depleted ranks. While I freely admit that I am very, very biased, the Marine Corps did not have that problem. I saw hundreds upon thousands of brave, patriotic young men who freely and willingly volunteered to endure the harshest training our nation had to offer. For an opportunity to earn the title Marine and the privilege to face our nation's enemies. These young men came from all walks of life and from all regions of our country. In 13 weeks, they were transformed from civilians with little understanding about the rigid discipline and the demands required of a Marine into some of the finest fighting men our country has ever produced. As a series officer and company commander, I stood in awe of these young men, boys really, most between the ages of 18 and 20, who instead of rarely attending class, worrying about weekend parties or girls in college campuses, decided they would answer a higher calling. They would answer the call of a nation at war, knowing full well and without any illusions that within a few short months they would more likely than not be fighting in a foreign land. There are many who talk of the men who served in the Second World War and refer to them as the greatest generation. Well, I will never disagree with such a comment. I will make an argument that all those who have served at any point in our time are our greatest generation. Whether it be those who fought in the Second War, in Korea, or in Vietnam, and especially those that are nearest and dearest to my heart, the current crop of veterans who are serving or have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. They are honorable young men. There are men like Private First Class Robert Hill. Private First Class Hill was a good kid, but he was a Marine that I was not very happy about having in my platoon prior to the invasion of Iraq. You see, Private First Class Hill had spent some time in the brig. He got himself in a little bit of trouble and got sentenced to 6 months of confinement. Upon his release, which happened to be the day before my platoon left to Iraq, He was driven up to me in a van and literally kicked out with orders to deploy with us to Iraq. Hill had none of the skills we needed in a combined anti-armor team. He was not a driver, he was not a machine gunner, he was not a tow missileman. He was out of shape and he had no gear. My platoon sergeant, Gunnery Sergeant Sean Haynes, immediately got to work getting him equipment and packing him up to get on ship. The next day we floated off to war with Private First Class Hill as the newest member of our platoon. On a 28-day float to Kuwait, it became very apparent that Private First Class Hill wanted to redeem himself for his previous actions. He worked out constantly and was eager to learn. He was cross-trained as a radio operator, Humvee driver, and learned how to employ a tow missile system. He was smart and hardworking, and I couldn't ask for more. He fit in with the boys perfectly. Fast forward many months after the invasion of Iraq and sustained combat, and Private First Class Hill had proven himself to be invaluable. On a rare down day in July, he was finally able to check on his bank account to take care of some personal finances. To his surprise, he noticed he had not been paid since January. My platoon sergeant researched his records and brought the issue up to the administrative section. And anyone who's familiar with military administration will tell you, it's not always very good. A few days later, and shockingly, but maybe not surprisingly, it turned out that Private First Class Hill should never have been dropped off at my doorstep. Private First Class Hill had been processed out of the Marine Corps, and he should never have gone to Iraq. This, of course, was alarming to many in the command, and the incident was elevated to the division commander, General James Mattis. He ordered us to bring Private First Class Hill to see him. We arrived at the division compound and reported into the general's quarters. And General Mattis asked Private First Class Hill one simple question. He said, "Do you still want to be a Marine?" PFC Hill answered immediately and without hesitation, "Yes, sir." General Mattis combat meritoriously promoted him to the rank of Lance Corporal and had his pay reinstated from the day he left the brig. PFC Hill remained in Iraq with his platoon throughout the duration of our 9.5-month deployment, serving with honor and distinction. Where do we find such young men as this? He could have easily opted to come home. In fact, he could have been on the first plane out of there. But he chose to remain with his platoon. He chose to remain with his fellow Marines and go back out into harm's way. We find those young men amongst us, like those assembled in this room, like those in the high school down the street, like those who walk the streets of our college campuses, and like those who wear the uniforms of our country today. To our veterans, we owe the highest level of gratitude. They have paved the way for us and left legacies that we all aspire to achieve. Greatness is often ascribed to those who have come before us, but I would argue that we are surrounded by it. Our veterans are the greatest amongst us. I again thank you for what you've provided for us. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.